Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Facebook Live. Just certain things going on. A lot of people doing videos on Facebook right now, and I wanted to join in. But as you know, I have a unique take on life as I do study the neuroscience of reality. And there's a lot happening in the world, and there's a lot that's going on in people's brains and in people's lives, and on social media and Facebook and things like that. And so I think it's really important that we take some time out and objectively, right? Not subjectively, but objectively, to be objective rather than subjective, which is my own beliefs, my own this, my own that, my own interpretations, or your own beliefs, your own interpretations, the way that you interact with reality. And so ultimately, we're faced with something, and we're faced with something that has not happened in most of our lifetimes. And we have this pandemic that's happening, and there's a lot that's going on, from the government's actions to what the experts say, to what the politicians say, to what people believe themselves. And the biggest gift that we can give anybody right now is truth. Okay? And misinformation is the enemy and will always be the enemy, because misinformation causes people to do things that they wouldn't normally have to do, creates fear, or on the other side, creates peace of mind when we shouldn't have peace of mind. You know, if a bear is stalking you in the woods and somebody goes, "Oh, don't worry, that bear is not going to hurt you," and you go, "Oh, phew." You know, that might not be the best time to believe that, right? Because a bear in the woods isn't going to sit there and go, "I'm not going to harm that person," and especially if they're stalking you, they're coming for you, right? So, you know, misinformation can be used in a lot of ways. But before we get to that, I want to talk about truth for a moment and how this all ties in, because there is truth out there, okay? And truth is not your interpretation of the truth. It's not your thoughts about the truth. It's not the truth that is based on your beliefs, what you think is right or wrong, what you agree with, or any of those things. There's something beyond that truth that is wiped away of all those things. So truth is what's left when you take away all your preconceived notions, your beliefs, your thought processes and ideas, and your own personal bias that you view the world through. We all have those filters where we view the world through. Now, on the opposite side of that, we have what's called the ultimate truth. Now, this is something that I strive for, and I studied and have studied over the past 20 years in deep in Buddhism, which is that ultimate truth that stands throughout the course of reason. Whether you go through that course of reason or I go through that course of reason, it stands. So ultimately, there's this phrase that we say in transformation that rocks are hard and water is wet. And no matter what your judgments and views of that are, eventually you will come to that same conclusion, as will I, because rocks are hard and water is wet. And those are facts. Those are truths. Those are ultimate truths in a way. Now, does rocks being hard or water being wet mean that water is good or water is bad or water is indifferent or that water is dirty, that water is clean? No, it doesn't mean any of that, right? And so some people have reached out and they say, "Well, Aubrey, why in the course of this are you posting these things, this and that and the other?" Well, you know, I'm no expert by any means with the process of diseases. However, I was in the medical field as a medic for, almost 25 years. And during that time, I took many different trainings, and I was trained by many different ways, from the FBI to CDC to FEMA to DMAT, and all these areas. Like, there's certain things that we get trained on that we know what to look for, and things like that. Now, the other thing is that all I do is research, because I have that goal of ultimate truth, which means I research not only the things I agree with, but the things that I disagree with. And I'm saying those words as pointers because ultimately I just look at information and I gather information. And then I go and I see how can this information be verified. So it's more like a scientist way to go through that, not based on my interpretation, because all I want to know is the truth. And some people go, well, you're posting all these things and it's so negative. Well, the truth isn't negative. Okay? Remember, there's never a good time for bad news. News is just news. Truth is just truth. And there are some hard truths in life. Okay? Now, the truth is we're all going to die, right? That's the truth. You go, well, you can't focus on that. I'm not saying focus on it, but it is a truth, right? Does that make sense? And so I want to be on the right side of history. I want to know that because there's so much misinformation out there, that I am doing something that is at least giving facts based on research for you to either take into your life or not. Choice is yours. Okay? Choice is yours. And what I would ask is that this is the time for us to be peaceful and calm, even in the midst of all these changes, to be able to find these ways so that we all can look for truth and not just post something because you see it online and throw it out there as if it is something and then walk away because that skews now your viewpoint, right? Hey, don't worry, that bear is not going to hurt you. Oh, great. Now I'm just going to keep hiking and not worry about it, right? But that's not the truth. Maybe if I ask somebody else, hey, John over there said that that bear that's stalking me isn't going to hurt me. Is that true? No, that bear is stalking you and it will probably kill you. Okay, great. Now I have two different viewpoints, right? So which one is it? Well, maybe more research. Or I could watch the bear's behavior and I could say, well, this bear seems to be much more on the line of wanting to kill me than thinking that it's just going to hang out with me, right? And so there's ways that we can observe, okay, being objective, meaning standing outside of, not through our beliefs or our own ideas of what's right or wrong or what we agree with. Because here's the thing, if you only read stuff or listen to stuff that you agree with, you will never learn anything because you already have the belief. And all you want is to back up your belief because it feels good. It feels good to be right. Because what would happen if you were wrong? But if all you're doing is watching things and reading things that agree with what you already believe that you know, there is no growth there. And you could be wrong and you would never know, right? Because you're not even letting new information in. As the Dalai Lama says, if science proves any part of Buddhism wrong, then Buddhism will have to change. How many people think that way? Not a lot, right? So that's the first step is we get to be truthful, and I get to put facts out there because that's what this time is here for. Because here's the thing, there is no need to be hoarding toilet paper and paper towels right now, okay? There's not, but yet people are, okay? And together in community, if we share truth and ground people in truth, then all of us can make better choices based on truth and not political outcome or view or opinion, not belief, not suggestion, not hypnosis, because there's a ton of it out there, but based on ultimate truth, stripped away of all of our own interpretations, beliefs, and our own wanting of something to be right. Because in a pandemic situation, there is something in neuroscience that closes off the brain to the dangers because it's too much for us to imagine, which is the same thing like exponential results. Exponential results, if you've ever heard the conversation about, would you rather me give you $10,000 at the end of 30 days or a penny that doubles itself every day? And most people say the $10,000 because they can't visualize exponential growth of that penny. But eventually that penny over a period of month turns out to be like $1 million. Right? Because it's 1 cent, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents. And pretty soon it's 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32,000. And then it's 100,000, 200,000, 400,000, 800,000 because it's doubling every day, right? And that's exponential growth. And our mind can't wrap us around that. There's actually neuroscience. We have a very difficult time processing that as reality. And when we look at the spread of the coronavirus, this COVID-19, and we can see this exponential growth. It's one of the reasons why the US doesn't want to release its real results or test all these people, because exponentially the numbers would skyrocket whether we have symptoms or not. And our brains can't process that information. Okay? So we don't want to, because we don't want, what does that mean if that's true? And there's a lot of people that can't handle that level of truth. But it is still truth whether you believe it or not. And that's why truth is so important, because I will be on the right side of history in helping people understand things. And I'm asking you to do that as well. And we do that through a space of calmness, because it's already here. And what is already. We can't change it. Because one of two things will happen. I either will get corona or I will not get corona. And at the time that I do, I will either have severe symptoms or not severe symptoms. I will either need hospitalization or I will not need hospitalization. I will either die or I will survive. That's it. And that's the truth of this virus, right? And I can take precautions to reduce my risk, but it cannot be eliminated. Okay? So in a sense, we get to have a calm mind and make choices that are not only good for me, but the community as well. Because we should be looking after each other during these times. And one thing that if the world chose to look at it right now, we could see that nature always wins. And we need to come together. But we do so based in truth. Not in speculation, not in gut feelings, not in what I think is going to happen, not in our beliefs, not in our emotions, not in our judgments, okay? Because that is all conventional truth, and that's not real. That's your interpretation of it, all right? Now, creating peace, remember that peace is not an absence of war. Peace is a state of beingness. We are human beings. There is a beingness of peace that we bring no matter what is going on throughout and around us. Okay? Now, one of the ways to create that beingness of peace is to focus on peace. Because what we focus on expands in our mind. What we focus on creates new neural pathways to continuously reinforce what we see. So if we always look at somebody and go, Bill's a jerk, no matter what Bill does, once I make him something, he will always be that. So even if he's helping somebody, I can say, oh, well, he's got something up his sleeve, that Bill, because he's a jerk. Right? So we get to focus on peace in ourselves, in our lives. We get to ground ourselves and center ourselves in peace, knowing that one of two things are going to happen. This virus, whatever is happening, this global pandemic is going to be here whether we feel peaceful in our heart or whether we feel anxious at our heart. Okay? It's going to be here no matter what. So how do you choose then to act? Not react. React is from the past. We react to act like we did before, right? But we get to create a new neural pathway, a new way of focusing our brain. This is the idea of mindfulness. What is our object of observation? What are we paying attention to? What are we focusing on? Because that will grow in our space, in our lives, and it will be something that we start to look more for. Which is why when people are focused on their goal and focused on opportunity, more opportunity happens. Does it really happen? Or do they just find it more in everything? Interesting, right? Because people that wake up and go, oh, it's going to be one of those days. Guess what kind of day it becomes? One of those days in everything. Oh, I dropped my pen. One of those days. Oh, man. My shoelace came undone. Right? Because we're looking for that evidence. So we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to others. Because here's the thing. There are people that have well more than they need right now during this pandemic. And there are people that do not have what they need because the people have well more than they need took it all. More than they need. And here, I watched the Book of Eli the other night, and there was a line in there when Mila Kunis was asking, oh my God, I forgot his name. But you know, Denzel Washington. What was it like before the Flash? And he said people had more than they needed, and they threw away things that people would kill for now. Well, this is a time to really reflect on all the wonderful, amazing, beautiful gifts and benefits that we have in our life. Because it's amazing how suddenly when we don't have it, we realize how quickly life can change and it can be taken away. Because it is nice to be able to go to the grocery store and get what you need when you need it, isn't it? And you don't realize that convenience until it's taken away when you go and there's nothing there. And imagine being grateful for having what we need and having enough, but that everybody has enough, instead of this person with a garage full of toilet paper and this person with none. Right? So I ask and I implore all of you right now is to watch your object of observation, search for truth. Okay? I believe it's our responsibility as human beings in this world to bring forth truth. We have all the information in the known world at our fingertips, and nobody fact checks. Nobody looks at it, or they go, oh, well, I'm sure they meant something different by that, or oh, I'm sure what he meant by that was, or she meant by that was, or oh, what this is or what that is. No, 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 no. There is truth, ultimate truth, that is there, not based on your assessment, your opinions, your belief, or what you think. One of the things I'll bring up at this moment is Occam's razor. And if you don't know what Occam's razor is it says the simplest, in a nutshell, it's the simplest explanation tends to be the right one. The more assumptions you need to make about something, the more wrong your view of it becomes. Well, I bet they meant that. That's an assumption. Now you're skewing, you're leaning more towards it being wrong. Okay? And the more assumptions that you have to make about something or your belief, the more it stands that it's incorrect. Because things are only what they are. And so Occam's razor comes into play with this. Because at this moment we need truth. We need to be the ones responsible. We need to be the ones to respond to this. And you owe it to yourself and your family to do the research. Because there is so much misinformation. So much misinformation. It's on the internet right now. And there's a lot of people that are spreading it. Where a quick search will be able to show you a different side if you're willing to look for it. And we need to come together in that truth. We need to come together in that truth. And that's what I stand for, and that's why I will continue to put out truth. Now, truth is not good, and it is not bad, and it may be hard to handle, but that's what doing the right thing is, right? Because when you do the right thing, it's never the easiest thing. In fact, most times doing the right thing is the hardest thing, and you will be judged for it, and you will be skewed for it, and you will be beaten down for it. But I will do the right thing, what is right and just, because that's how I choose to live my life. And that's what I'm asking anybody who's watching this to do as well. Work on your mindfulness. Work on that sense of peace. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on peace? Are you focusing on having enough? Are you focusing on you have to get yours and who cares if somebody else doesn't get theirs? Are you focusing on truth? Or are you focusing on just backing your beliefs because it feels so good? Right? Because feeling wrong doesn't feel good. Feeling right feels great. That's the purpose of the ego. But it's time to put those egos down. Because this is a time that we can all come together if you choose to. And what I'm asking and what I'm imploring is that if you're watching this, choose it now in this moment. Start being a leader. Start your quest for truth now. not just about this pandemic. And by the way, looking at truth, you can look at how have other pandemics started? What was the spread? What was the response? Why was it what it was? Why wasn't it what it wasn't? What did science learn from that? What did this? And then go into the next process and look at the next one and start doing your research, not just on this. Does that make sense? Research, there's a treasure trove of a long history of research that you can do about viruses and pandemics and spread and disease and all these different things. If you really want to understand and know, and then make choices from that. Okay? Make choices from that. But getting back to beingness, it's time to be in such a way that we come together, that we support each other, because there's a lot of people that are having a hard time with this. And I am going to put out a hypnosis. If you don't know, I'm a hypnotherapist. I am going to put out a hypnosis for anxiety, because a lot of people are suffering from anxiety right now. I'm going to give it away. So if you need that, hit me up, PM me, and I will send it out to you. Okay? But it's time for calmer, cooler heads to prevail. It's time to have the truth put out there so people can make the best choices they can with the information that they have, and that information is correct and not misinformation to guide them down a wrong path, whether it's this way or this way. And so I will continue to be on the right side of history, and I will continue to stand for what's just and what's right, because it's not the easiest thing. And it's always not going to be sunshine and roses, because that's not what life is. Rocks are hard, water is wet, and everything else is an interpretation. So I'm asking you right now, what side of history are you standing on? How much research do you really do before you repost on Facebook? Are you looking outside your own belief systems? Are you looking outside the things that you read all the time that you already agree with? Are you searching in depth for truth, ultimate truth, not tied to your interpretation or your belief or your your perception or your judgments about it? Or are you just copy pasting, throwing because that's what you already believe in? Because that's where mob mentality comes in, and enough people just stop believing. And if you want to know how powerful that is, just look back to Jim Jones. Some of you are old enough to remember, some of you don't, but look it up. Because even at the end, the mob mentality thinking, the people that did not think for themselves, that did not look for ultimate truth, watched as this person said, take the cyanide and pour it down your children's throats. And they did willingly, thinking it was a good idea. And they watched their kid convulse and die. And then they did it again to their next kid. And then they did it to themselves. Never once having this idea that maybe, just maybe, this isn't the right path. Because they were already focused on what they already agreed with. And there was no independent thought of anything to say, what if I'm wrong? What if he's wrong? What if Jim Jones is wrong? Then what? What's the possibilities that open up if I was wrong about this? What's possible, or what exists if I'm wrong about this? What am I not seeing? What do I not want to see? And so they just killed their kids and then themselves. So it's time to search for truth, and not just because of this pandemic, but now more than ever, because it's out of control. And we get to take it back, because all the information is here. You just have to look for it. And you have to go outside what you already believe with an open mind that says, I just want to learn. It's one of the great things about science. Science is objective. There is not a bit of subjectiveness. It's objective because it's just like, what is the data and facts? That's it. Rocks are hard, water is wet. That's all they look at. And they go, okay, this. And it's time for us to do the same. If you want to start understanding the mindfulness process, the neuroscience of reality, how we interact with reality, how we process it, why our beliefs are what they are, reach out to me. There's ways that we can do that. learn and grow together. If you need me for anything, please reach out. If there's anything I can do for you, I can't guarantee I can do it, but if I can do it, I will. But let's change our response, okay? Let's choose to act now justly, with truth, whatever that truth is, whether it's comfortable, uncomfortable, scary, not scary, because the truth is none of those things. It cannot exist in multiple ways at once, right? If I'm not scared of the truth and you are, the truth can't exist in those two realities at the same time. So it's not scary or not scary. It's just truth. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. I hope this moved something inside of you. And if I can serve you in any way during this time, let me know. Other than that, I will see you anon, whenever that is.